Alright, here we are at Sonoma. As usual, this is a lap done on race fuel, minus a couple gallons since I did a couple laps to get to this point. And default temperatures, the time of day is morning, same as what the weather is for this week. And so this is default settings for what you should expect to see in the race. So these first couple of corners here, the Nissans can take these at just ludicrous speeds, but we can't quite pull that off in the Audi. So there will be a little maintenance braking, a little maintenance throttle going through here, but I'm trying to stay fairly tight to the left. So not all the way to the right. You can swing out there a little bit and get a better entry to this next section, but for me, it seems like the time lost getting over there is more than the time that I gain just by staying tight here and lose a little bit of time going up the hill. And so I'm usually braking pretty heavily about where this curb here is, and I drop, I think I'm in fourth right now, and I drop straight to second. And then for this right-hander here, you can take a decent bit of this curb, but you don't want to get on the gas too early. Wait on your throttle application. Keep waiting. Almost there. There we go. Because that stuff sneaks up real quick. So be patient. Now for this corner, there's not really a set break point. It's done more by feel, and I've been hitting the right places, but there's not a specific mark that I look for to hit. I want to say it's right about here, but I'm trying to stay to the right and then tuck in for a late apex, and I'm trying to ride this curb as long as I can to get a better entry to the right-hander after this. Now this right-hander, it's over a crest, and the back end of the car will get free. So be prepared to counter steer, get some opposite lock in there, modulate your throttle, and the left side of the track will sneak up real quick. So now the way I take this corner here isn't exactly the best way I like to take it. You can either take it and just barely nudge this curb, which keeps the car flat because it's a flat curb, or you can cut the bejesus out of it as far as you can without getting a 1x, because that smooths out this massive bump a little bit if you take it more of a cut. On this lap, I did it right down the middle of those two and kind of got shot into the air. It worked on this lap, but it's not exactly the most stable way to take the corner. So keep that in mind. There's a bit of a lump. And now slightly delayed throttle application. In this case, I waited until I landed, but after that curb is where I generally start to apply throttle because, again, the left side of the track sneaks up real quick. And then as soon as the car's stable, basically, right about here, a little before the end of this curb, back on the brakes. Now, late turn in where possible. I'm just starting to turn in. You want to stay to the left and get a late turn in here to launch the car through this next section. And again, you can take a bit of this curb, but don't go hog wild on it. Just take a little bit. You can take all of this if you want to. On this lap, I was a little late in my throttle application, but not terribly. So I don't aim for it every time because it also can sneak up a little bit. But yeah, you can get right up to it. Now for this corner, there's two different ways that you can really take it. Most of the time, and what I did in this lap, I use maintenance throttle and I lift on it and I stay as close to this as close to this yellow line as I can to stay to the right and get a good entry to the next corner. But it seems like you can carry a little more speed and not really lose much speed afterwards by just staying on the throttle. You might need to lift a little bit, but really not compromising the exit and instead compromising the entrance to the next corner. Try them both, see what works for you. With a Nissan around, it might be better to hold to the right and tuck to the right and give them the apex for the left-hander after this. But yeah, try both techniques and see what works for you. Either way, whether you're staying to the right like this or if you're to the left, generally where these tents here come into view a little after you start to see them is where I've been braking. If you go too late, just since we're going over a crest, if you lose grip, the car will just skitter straight through and you'll lose time by trying to slow the car and get a turn in versus braking a smidge earlier and retaining grip this whole time and getting a fast turn in. So I try to do that more, braking a little earlier, getting a good turn in. Now, yes, I'm on the throttle here, but I'm not preparing to accelerate out of the corner. This is just a little maintenance throttle. The apex here is a long ways away. Still not there. Just because there's a curb here doesn't mean that's the apex. Still not there. Right about here. That's about where I've been using for an apex point. Just the way this car launches out of the corners, it needs patience before you get to real aggressive throttle application. There we go, almost at full throttle. So there is an exit curb here, but it runs out before, at least with the lines I've been taking, it runs out before I get to it, so I don't rely on it. Now, where these signs are, you can also see there's a bit of a shadow difference here. That's about what I've been using as a break point, or a little before, I guess right about here. Let's see if there's a better. You can kind of see the concrete barrier here. It's flat, it's flat, it's flat, and then it kicks up a little before the sign. That's what I've been using for a break point, is right about this area. Now this double apex corner, we want to get a really good launch out of here. So taking a late second apex is going to really help out. You can clip that pretty good since we're already slowed down. Generally, I try not to get all the way out to this yellow line. I'm a couple feet away from it here. This is about as far out as I like to go, but this, by getting out here, you get a really good launch out of this second apex. And there it is. Try to nudge that curb, but don't smack it. You want to keep your all four tires on the ground, and if you smack into that curb, you'll save a foot or two of distance, but you're not going to put the power down. So I'm just starting to start to do some throttle application a little bit more, and I'm hitting the curb now, and I'm still not at full throttle. There we go. You can use all the road to the left here, but try not to get all the way out to where this curb is. That might be a little too far, but definitely get over here, because then you're tracking out well and you're not scrubbing speed by trying to keep turning the car and staying further to the right. Now there's a whole bunch of compromise corners coming up, and how better to start a series of compromise corners than getting airborne. I try to clip this curb pretty hard because you can see there's a little pavement after it, and we might as well try to stay as far to the right as possible, which means using this pavement. And as soon as I'm back on the ground once again, about where this curb is, I'm just starting to apply my brakes. And we want to stay a little bit further to the right to get a better exit here to stay to the left, so we can get a better run into the next right-hander. Once again, whole bunch of compromise corners. If you mess up your rhythm in the early part of this, you're thrown off for the whole series. So it's a pretty critical area. And you can take quite a bit of this curb. It's not too aggressively steep here. And a little bit of throttle, but not too much, and then we'll be doing some braking. And once again, we want some patience. I'm just getting back to throttle, and the curb is just ending, but I'm not at full throttle yet. I lifted a little bit. I probably shouldn't have gone to full throttle quite yet. But in retrospect, I probably could have stayed at full throttle here, because I didn't get all the way to this curb. Don't go too hog wild again over here, because you don't want to get into this crud, but you can use all the road and a little bit of this curb. So don't slow yourself down too much. Now I'm not staying tight to the left yet because I want to get a good, there's a curb right over here and I want to ride that entire curb. So I'm swinging a little bit to the right so I can tuck in when I get to it. And as you can see, I just lifted a little bit to make sure my nose gets pulled in so I can ride this whole curb. And as it's a sharper corner here and then it kind of straightens out right where this paint starts, I'm braking right when I get to that. And then as soon as the curb ends, we're basically off the brakes again. And we want to, this is a fast corner here. Don't underestimate how much speed you can carry through here. But don't overestimate it either because there's not that much runoff room. But you can carry quite a bit of speed. And you can also clip it. It's pretty darn flat, so use it. And again, this wall is pretty close to the track, so don't go too nuts. But if you're in a good battle and you don't mind an extra 1x, if you go wide here, it's not going to slow you down. It might make your car a little unstable as you hit that stuff, but you're not going to lose time by getting a 1x there. Now my brake point here is a little after where this paint ends. This is a corner where you do not want to miss your brake point because if you do, you could easily lose a half second or more by just missing your brake point a little bit. It's a very, very easy corner to lose time if you don't hit your points right. So I've been erring on the side of caution and slowing down a little bit sooner because if you go a little too deep, it really, really hurts your time. So don't go nuts here. You can go all the way in where these tire barriers are, but once again, if you miss your brake point, you'll lose a lot of time. If you cut this too sharp and you hit these tires, you'll lose a lot of time too. So don't do that. But do use this whole curb. Maybe, I think I've got my right side tires a little over this curb here. But you want patience. You see where this tire barrier ends? We're still not getting fully on the gas. That ends, we have another tire barrier here, or a tire stack. We're about halfway onto the gas, but just slowly applying it. The curb's ending. We're still not on the gas. We're even with the end of that. Now we're just getting to full throttle. Patience is key here. It's a very tight corner. It's a very sharp corner. If you get on the gas too soon, you're just going to have to get off again and hit the brakes, and that's not going to speed you up. So be patient. And then I like to go back to about the middle of the track here, just because this is for a straightaway, this is a pretty sharp corner. So by going to the right here, we can tuck in and keep our car positioned all the way to the right to do it all over again.